What's up, everybody? Furin here, and we have our last G3 siege of the regular season. We are currently ranked 21st, and so this matchmaking is going to determine if we make it to Tourney or not. So we end up getting Serotonina, which we pulled a couple weeks ago, and Phantoma. I think both these guilds are semi-relative around our strength, so hopefully it will be a good last siege to end on. We're taking a quick look. We see some Odin Rileys, we see some LD towers, and we see a Mei Skogul Mermaid Tower, which is kind of interesting, something we don't see quite as much. We're going to go ahead real quick and go into the red 12 on the 4-star side, hitting Harmonia, Vigor, Kinki. This is something that we've seen quite a lot of, but is a pretty fun tower to hit. We're taking in our Commune, Vigor, Lucia. The strategy here is we're going to keep the Harmonia locked down as much as possible and try and kill this Vigor just as quickly as we can. We get some pretty nice RNG at the start here with a couple of procs, and we had the Harmonia off will, which allowed us to just sleep it off the bat, and we're able to go ahead and take out this Vigor very quickly. This is kind of, I think, best case scenario. We're going to go ahead and just sleep this Harmonia again, even though we just woke it up to stop it from getting any sort of immunity up. If we'd put it onto the Kinki, we would have just gotten it cleansed right away. Put some more damage into this Kinki, get another sleep onto the Harmonia. I think ideally you still hit into the Harmonia here. I ended up kind of focusing this Kinki. We have high accuracy, almost max S1 accuracy on the Lucia, so we're able to just, keep this completely frozen and take it down. But this does introduce just some risk if you're hitting the Kinki, since if the Harmonia procs out, you can get the Unwanted Harmony into some procs from the Kinki. Could potentially be a kill on someone from your team, but luckily we've already taken out the Vigor. The Harmonia doesn't have any crazy procs, and we're able to finish out this first attack. Next, we are going to go into one of the LD towers with our Mirene Lucian. This is a Sylvia, Iris, and a Fuuki. We feel pretty safe taking an Lucian here, unless it's a Swift Iris who's going to skill to the Kona or the Lucian, then we should be fine to outspeed here. We're going to go right back into this LD tower again. This time it's going to be the Herteit, Vigor, Triana. This is a pretty common LD tower I've seen. I was a little bit rushed here because we were racing the 10s, and I took in this Changpeng Cleave. I think this is pretty nice because you're not as reliant on a single pushback. You have the triple hit from the Changpeng, but we actually triple miss. We don't get a single race on any of these units, so the Triana passes is still up. We go for the skill 2 to try and finish off the Triana, and then the Vigor gets the heal off, and at this point, they've almost 100% recovered, and I think we're going to go ahead and have a loss here. I think there's some other comps that are a bit safer into this that I just didn't have room to have it invested in. I'd say this is probably like an 80%, 85% chance of success. We needed a reset on either the Vigor or the Triana, and I think we would have been okay here. But yeah, wasn't our attack. We'll get on the next one. We're going to go back into another one of these LD towers. This time it is a Nigong, Praha, and Sagar. We're taking in a Fang, Escher, and Arena. A little bit of a cobbled together team here, but the basic idea is that there's not a ton of damage coming out from this side. The Sagar will be putting up a defense break, which should be channeling a lot of the AI. So we take the Arena in to tank that, and then we basically just have 2 Bruiser destroy units with the Fang and the Escher, combined with defense break and healing across both of them. So we actually have 3 units with healing on it, and think that we should be able to eventually bruiser this out. I'm starting to target the Sagar just because the taunts across the different skills from the Sagar are going to force us a little bit to hit into it. And so I just want to make it so that I fully destroy him pretty quickly, and I can just kill him every time he comes up, and then we think that we should be able to bruiser out the other units. I could have also gone for the Nigong first. I just thought that between the taunts and the resets of the Sagar, the heals of the Praha, and the heals and the revive skill for damage reduction from the Nigong would make it a little hard to kill it up front. But potentially we could have gone for that as well. One thing we notice here is that this Praha is on Despair, so it's going to be having a lot less healing from cycling, less turns, but it's going to be pretty annoying in that we're getting stunned, and I think we're getting a lot of sleeps from the Nigong as well. So I think in my head, as we put together this team, I thought, like there's such low damage coming from them, and we have such, diverse healing across all these units that we're going to be absolutely fine. But as you can see here, there are a couple of places where I think sleeps and stuns kind of chain together, and some of my units get down to like half HP, which means a couple more procs could have done something, especially as this Destroyer goes back up. But basically, we're going to have to just keep on going through and hoping to kill this Sagar every time it comes up, because it's already pretty much max destroyed. But I think we're going to have to go through and kill this a few more times before we end up being able to take out the Nigong. One of the argument potentially for hitting the Nigong first would have just been that he has that skill to scaling HP damage, and so destroying him sooner would also make it easier just to eventually get a window to kill him, as well as preventing some of the damage from that as well. But I think, this is something we don't see every day. Didn't get a chance to practice or really test between these different targetings. And so, maybe we'll try it differently the next time. But this ended up working out okay. We might speed through a little bit of the rest of this since it's a little bit long. But you get the general idea. We're going to go into this Odin, Riley, Tesarian tower on the Serotonina side, and we're taking in our Baylor Lucian. Again, the idea here is heavy damage dealt on wind on our Lucian. As long as we kill the Riley, we will be okay, and we can see 20k cards there. I don't think there was a ton of minus wind, or just the attack lead plus my damage dealt on wind was enough. We have the skill 3 from the Baylor, able to finish off the second life of the Odin. And now in our 2 versus 1, we're going to be able to clean up this Tesarian for another win. We're going to go in with another LD tower. This time it's the Theo, Nora, and the Dark M Bison. So we're just taking in a Poseidon Cleave. I don't think anyone here is going to be that fast. We get a proc from the Galleon, which we're a little worried that potentially one of these units are on Nem, and we miss the pushback here. We end up going into the Nora just because that was what I thought was least likely. The Bison I know was off will, and there's potential to have revenges there. But we hit all our defense breaks, we hit all our crits, and now we just have the 3v1 versus the Theo. There's always the chance that he procs 3 times and gets back into his Endure and takes out one of my damage dealing units. But again, pretty low chance we're able to not get procced on and finish him off here and get another win against this LD tower. Going to go again into another similar defense. This time it's the Theo, Nora, and a Savannah. I think Phantoma was running multiple towers of this. We're taking in a Tesarian, Leo, and Lulu. We notice right away that this Theo is actually on revenge, which is kind of fun. Makes it a little different. Since we have the Tesarian for the Oblivion, we're going to go ahead and take out this Savannah. Put an Oblivion up so that we don't have to deal with the second form. Get our cleanse and immunity up from our Lulu, and then I think when our Tesarian moves here, we should be able to take out this Savannah. Now, I think this 2v3 is still potentially a little scary, especially with the revenge. You have the strips from the Nora into the defense break and kind of like the random AI from the Theomars. Luckily, we have the passive from the Leo to cut, so there's speed scaling on the skill 1 of the Theomars, so the Leo will cut some of his damage as well. But there's still just kind of a lot of damage coming out from all these different units. And we're just going to try and finish off this Theomars next here. Hopefully trying to get an Oblivion so that we can get through that passive. We can see here just a few more hits. We glance there and we get countered. Our Theomars, or our Tesarian is looking a little unsafe here, but our Lulu has the cleanse and the heal back up. And I'm going to go ahead and hit into this Theo a few more times. Able to proc the passive with the Lulu attack here. Get countered another time. Start working on the Nora since the Theo has the Endure buff. And then we could have potentially skill one the Theo here to try and push him back and get another turn from the Lulu to go and potentially get a heal. But we're able to just keep doing our skill ones and finish off the Theo. Our Tesa dies to the Nora, but 2v1 we're able to finish out this sword. And another fun thing, we actually took Destroy on both the Leo and Theo Mars. In a lot of these comps where there could be some annoying 2v1 or 1v1 at the end, it's always nice to have that extra Destroy set to make it a little bit more safe. And Alright, and next we're going to go into this Mei Mermaid plus Skogul. There were a couple of towers of this. We were trying to hit a lot of these at once, and this is a comp that I'd used against a similar offense a couple sieges ago, which is the Carcano, Chloe, and Windy. I actually really like this comp. It feels safe against a lot of things that are either single threat or don't have strips. So the only strip on this side is the Betta with the skill 1, which is not very consistent, and a high tick, violent Chloe here is just going to be able to do so much. We're going to have lots of invincibility, almost permanent immunity, and then we have speed buff and crit buff from the Windy as well. We have that shield to help mitigate damage as well on our other units. And then we actually get a really easy time ruining a very high damage Carcano here. So we can build towards that higher speed tick. We can build him to 70 crit rate instead of the 100 because we're going to have crit rate buff a lot of the time. And then with speed buff from the Windy as well, we're just going to be getting a lot more turns than the enemy here. So yeah, pretty safe, clean win here. I think the chance for us to lose is that the Mei just puts a lot of destroy quickly into the Windy and is able to get some tempo from that. There's also some variability from the Skogul getting procs or the rock drop changing the AI. But again, we still have a lot of healing and invincibility from the Chloe, and we have the shield from the Windy protecting the rest of our team. So we're not too worried about that, and we wrap up this first hit into this tower. And actually for our last 2 attacks, we had to hit this defense 2 more times, this time with a Molly variant, but we took in the exact same team all 3 times. And as you can see, it ended up being very consistent. I think the one mistake I made here is that against the Molly variant, I thought that I might try and kill the Skogul first and put heavy damage dealt on Wind on the Carcano. Obviously with the Betta, you're going to want to kill the Betta because you have the revive from her, so if you kill anything else, they're just going to come back alive. And as soon as the Skogul's dead here, basically all kill pressure is gone. I'm not really worried about losing as soon as that first kill goes down. So here we actually have this Molly at 1 health left, and we're trying to decide, do we play safe and put up immunity and invincibility, or do we go for the kill? And at this point, I decided to go for the invincibility, but the game says do both. And we get a crit from the Chloe, able to finish off the Molly there, able to heal back up my team, and then next we're going to go into the Skogul. And yeah, as we were saying, I think it's better if you can kill the Skogul first, as long as it's safe. But you are fighting against, if you're hitting it while it has the rock up, you're going to get potentially more procs into more rocks, which could definitely be a loss condition for this team. And also, when you have this Carcano as this kind of like single damage threat here, you got to be cognizant of at the beginning who you skill 1 with the Chloe, because we're buffing on the Windy, and then whoever we hit with the Chloe is going to be who is lowest HP, and therefore who the Carcano is going to hit. So we end up getting the defense break on the Molly and going for that first. It turned out okay, but I think if we were going to kill the Molly first, we probably just should have had different artifacts and prepped it a little more. So as I said, we're going to go 1 more time into this defense. Almost the same thing. We get some procs here, but we miss our crit on the first turn, unfortunately, because we didn't have that buff. I'm basically thinking here that in like the normal non-proc case, we're reading to the lower crit rate because we should be going into stance, and then Windy should be buffing, and then we should have 100 crit rate with that. And also with the Molly variant of this team, there's always chance that we get stalled out a little bit, especially with Carcano, since we're only attacking every other turn. The Molly can do a lot more by glancing, basically taking multiple turns away from my team. And this Skogul actually did a ton of damage. You can see here that my Carcano, through all 3 of my units, just taking 1/3 of the rock damage, was actually pretty high. So again, maybe if I ran this one more time, I'd think a little bit more about a little more bulk on this Carcano. I think I ran him pretty high damage here because I wanted to make sure that we were able to kill pretty quickly and not wanting to race. Like, as you can see here, my Windy is actually already like half destroyed because we didn't line up the invincibilities with the destroy skill from the Mei. And so if that hits into not a full shield, it can be pretty deadly. Or I think maybe the rock dropped and then the Mei hit, so it didn't have any shield. But we're okay here. We're able to finish off that Molly, and then we get another nice proc to kill that Skogul. And then 3v1 here, there's no way we lose. We're able, even though with the counter buff, I think this was a... Actually, I didn't notice what the sets were on this one. I didn't see a lot of bio procs from this unit, but I'm not seeing Vampire from it. I'm guessing there's Destroy. But I think the thing that could be worrisome is if it was countering a bunch and vampiring. But anyways, here is the map at the Armistice. We are actually going into a day 2 of the siege, even though I think most of the hits are out. We're currently seeing Serotonina in the lead at about 14,500 points. Phantoma just barely ahead of us at a little over 10,000, and Transcend in 3rd place at 9,500 points. So again, pretty close siege. I think bonus is kind of hopping between the different guilds as people are going for different things. But a little bit of a disappointing end of the season, but we are excited to see who gets through the tournament, see what happens there, and see what we can do next season. Again, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.